Let's start. Let's see here. I mean, both of you can be in here, but we'll start with. Actually, let's start with Snasser since he's already here, and we'll start with
So
that
what
first.
do you want to start me with? Tier list builds or like
yeah.
cores or?
Let's start with tier lists and builds. We can do cores also afterwards, or yeah, whatever you want.
So I think the standard approach is try to get an alpha ray and weapons, like alpha ray pulse rifle, preferably a dillo and a duct tape.
Oh yeah. Oh, wait. Can we do like SAB, or are you talking about just generally
like,
now, or?
I mean, it's like the S tier build is so builds is like depending on the core, right? And like now is the question: do you want to have like including skills? Because like the best build is probably having crescendo, and then having a crit core, and having alpha ray, pulse rifle, dillo, and
Let's
tape.
go
I think
with
that is.
let's go with like no concedes. The best thing to do when you're never conceding, and it's the most consistent to climb with. Let's say you would play 100 games, you don't concede, you try to do this build, then this is better or that is better or whatever.
Alpha ray. It's
Okay,
alpha ray
alpha ray,
weapons. Yeah,
alpha
it's like
ray weapons.
alpha ray, pulse rifle, dillo, tape. This is very, very easily achievable, and then obviously, you can, like, if you don't find the armadillo, you just use like a whatsoever Chris Army knife, and then you can do this with any core basically, except maybe the companion core. Just never pick that, and then you're good. I mean, that is the most consistent one. If you find it, but it's like depending whether you find it. I think a little bit less like weaker is the railgun, but it's close there. So second is like just railgun plus tech. It's probably still S tier.
All right.
Like it's just a little bit behind that because finding a railgun is not good and not easy, as well as railgun is like lacking a little bit of scaling past day 10. But there's stuff going on. So railgun is also a build with plus tech.
All right.
And then
just a fast question here on the alpha ray stuff. You go this all the way, even to like day 15 or whatever. Yeah.
I mean, you should not go to day 15. You should win, right? You should go
10-0
max
or
on day 12.
12. Okay, day 12.
I mean, it's like day 10ish. You start to run into caltrops, and then there's nothing. I have not found a single build that will like beat caltrops that have like 100 damage upwards, and yeah, most caltrops have 100 damage around upwards.
All right.
So
what would you say railgun is max day 10 or?
I mean, railgun is still good. Like against a dually, if you like, so chrono barriers also attack. That's working pretty good and helping you. If you have crit on the railgun, you cheese like until day 12 with the damage scaling from the crit. So it's just like it's also like day 12. Like after day 12, you just like get the broken stuff from Pygmalion and Vanessa, and I don't think any dually build is reliable having a chance there. It's
right.
You lose the rock paper scissors coin flip.
Last question about this build here. The alpha ray weapons dildo stuff. Let's say you have all of these pieces, and then you find a railgun before you level to 7. So before you get it to gold for free. Do you switch to railgun or do you stick with the alpha ray weapons?
Depends on the core and depends on the skills. Because if I have crescendo, I am definitely staying with the alpha ray.
Wait, do we have it on level 6, the crescendo, or is it 8?
Sorry, I don't know, to be honest. I have not played on the last patch, so I'm not too certain about the level one at which point what's happening.
I feel like you get that skill after 610. Well, do you get
they haven't
gold
changed
skills?
So it's still the same days as before, I think.
Yeah.
In terms of leveling.
So you get the gold skills after the silver upgrade, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I think I would make it on the fly.
Okay. We can skip that part. AB, do you have anything there?
Yeah, so I think a combat core is quite good, and force field is quite good. Combat core is, you can make it work with nearly every core, but the best core for it is the core. But a combat core you can play also in the crit core. I just make my 10-0 run with a crit core combat core mix up, so it's just like combat core and then still maybe a alpha ray or something. Force field is also like a little bit dependent on the skills, but usually like you can make force field work with quite a lot of situations. I think those are the main builds that you just like play from from start to finish.
All right. Anything else here on the builds, or we go to the cores?
I don't think there's like I think like this patch is a lot of pivoting, and this is a lot of deciding on the fly where to go to, because like you asked me what's the reliable, right? But I had like today a game where I played just like the standard Ray builds. I'm like from like 2 patches ago, and this is working, but it's like only working if it's falling into places, and that's not something you can force at all or like play constantly.
Yep.
Cores,
Yep.
I think like it's very close. I think crit core and burn core are the most consistent in this S. I think for me
Yep.
personally, the core is A plus. It's like
Okay.
the one that is next as consistent, and I would always pick it. I think the armored core is just A. It's for me most of the time still very good. I love to play it. It's just like not feeling as consistent. It's not as versatile. You can low roll, and you can low roll a little bit more with the armored core in my book than with the other cores.
Yep.
And then the weaponized core is just like a core. I think it's still a good core. It has its upsides, but it's falling off a little bit harder in the mid and late game.
Yeah.
And I think I want to point it out. I think the companion core is deleted. I don't see a reason why you ever want to pick a companion core. Be honest.
Yeah. Let's not even write it.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any last things so we can go to the next?
I think the best thing to have in mind, be open about the options you have. Like early on, blasters is amazing, but you don't want to carry blasters probably for most of the time. For further, you can like pivot quite a bit around and always like be open to situations, and then you have a more success.
Yeah. All right. Nice. Thank you, Nasser. Hopefully it wasn't too fast.
No, it's fine.
All right.
Snasser, one question. You never mentioned drill. Do you have any thoughts on drill as a build?
Yeah, I have a very strong thoughts about it. I tried it quite a bit. I think it's a bait. Like I had like even in the perfect setup, the pulse rifle was still better, and I think to have a very good drill, like it is nearly never happening. So I think in 95% it's a bait, and
Where do you
only
put
for the
it?
5% where it's better over a pulse rifle, like don't force it. Just like I feel baited by the power drill. I gave up. It's a blank item for me. Just it's
F tier?
railgun.
Is it F tier?
I mean, it's not F tier. It's like it's okay. Like the power drill is on par with the pulse rifle, right? And you don't need to have a friend, so whatever. But it's not like oh we oh like power drill is this broken item that's proccing so often. It's not proccing as often as I think people make it.
All right. Yeah. You want to give it a tier or just gonna skip it?
It's not a build. I
All
wouldn't
right.
I wouldn't play it as a build.
All right. Then I'll give it F. Guess it's not a build. Okay. All right.
I mean, it's not fair. But like,
Who's
don't give it F. It's not fair. It's like it's not
okay?
like unplayable. It's not like don't
B
pick
then.
it at all. It's just like don't feel baited to pivot into it.
All right. I'll put it on B. That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. Let's go. Next guy. Who's ready? Who wants to go? Welp
ready.
16. All right, Welp. Wait,
All right.
Walter coolest. Okay.
Yeah. So I just kind of did the cores for the tier list. I just have S as crit, A as burn, and B is armored, weaponized, the core. But
Okay, wait.
to be honest, I haven't played any of the core this patch.
Okay, so you said
So
S
I'm
crit
just
core.
putting, yeah, I've crit into burn as A,
Okay.
and I kind of consider burn to be almost like a pivot core. Like
Yeah.
you go burn with the intention of not necessarily ending with it on your board.
Oh, you remove it totally?
If I find combat core,
Okay.
yeah, it depends. If I'm going drill, then I usually keep it. If I'm going combat core, then I usually remove it.
Okay, so yeah, you look for drill also. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. I'm definitely a drill gamer. I think drill is like really good. But again, I'm utilizing it probably pretty differently than maybe. I think the builds are defined this patch by what you have left of your core, not the core itself. So you either have
That's true.
drill and as your engine, armadillo as your engine, or railgun as your engine, and
Yeah.
that is the defining feature of your board, not which core you have.
Yeah, true. Okay, what was it
So
after crit, ignition, and then?
armored weaponized the core. I mean, I played a 2 games, I think, of weaponized, 2 game of armored. I was kind of underwhelmed by armored. Weaponized is it's just a bad version of crit. But
Okay,
you're
so
maybe
B on armored and those.
yeah, I just
Yeah.
have B
Okay.
on all 3 of those, and
All
then I
right.
haven't played the core at all, but I assume it's fine. I don't know.
All right. Okay, let's jump to builds, I guess.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I definitely want to talk about drill and like the cards and skills that really enable it to sing, because I think you really can make this card work. I think the most important card is metronome, and metronome is like it's the card that allows you to transfer your triggers from your engine to your payoff cards, and that's kind of like what makes the drill build sing. That and the power of enchants on metronome are insane. So if you get burn or poison enchant, you should not be putting it on your drill, you should be putting it on your metronome.
Yeah. All right.
It's because it happens each time, for each one.
Yeah.
And the other card that really makes drill sing is pylon. There's a lot of access to slow from skills. So slow is the easiest status effect to access, especially as crit core. I mean, obviously burn is easier when you're burn core, right? But when you're crit core, slow is your premier status effect. You can get it really easily from skills. There's a new skill, CPU throttling, that is kind of like, I think it's like one slow for 2 seconds for the first 5 times your core goes. And then pylon reads, whenever you slow, haste 1. So it's going to solve your haste and then it slows itself, and it's going to turn each slow trigger into an additional haste trigger for drill. So it's going to, and the way drill works is like there's a different ICD for each status effect.
Oh yeah.
So hasting and slowing simultaneously is better than slowing twice simultaneously. And so you actually want a mix of status effects and ways to convert one status effect into the other. So that's like why metronome with poison or metronome with burn is really synergistic. That's why pylon is really synergistic.
Yeah.
And that's why there's some key skills: hotspot, toxic flame, the monster skill, anything to win, that really make, as well as the CPU throttling, the righty tighty, coolant leak is really good drill enabler. There's just so much access to
We need
to many
a drill
short
guide
status
in
effects.
Discord for this.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
put everything. Yeah.
I can type a bunch of this up.
Yeah.
And
Do you think drill is the best? How do you want to put stuff?
I don't know. I mean, it's the one I have. It's the one I have the most experience with so far. I've played maybe 5 or 6 games with like a Armadillo engine as the main thing going for me. I played
Yeah.
some games where I just got crescendo on crit and just as Snazzer said, just kind of like
Yeah.
just ran over the game. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah,
just get
yeah.
crescendo and you just run over the game with your weapons, right? But
Yeah.
but the nice thing about drill is that it offers a lot of backdoors, like like the Miss Isles deadly, like crescendo
Yeah.
at home. There's Pylon has the same thing. So Pylon has, when it's deadly, it has whenever you slow, all your items gain 10% crit. So
Oh shit.
it's like a backdoor crescendo as well for crit core. So there's a lot of built-in synergy, and there's the other slow and crit interrelated skills like slowed targets that you can get from Hydra Dude or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
there's
yeah,
already a lot of synergy between those two mechanics, between crit and slow. So I think that's kind of the natural fit for how you incorporate drill into, because obviously there's cool LEDs, whatever. Like Aiden's still great in drill builds, like Uzi's still great. Like it's not very difficult to turn your like standard weapon build on day 6 into a drill build. You just buy a drill, have like 1 or 2 skills, and like you get to day 7, you get your enchant, and then you kind of guides you, how you're gonna play it. Because you can have because obviously like haste on core is insane with drill, slow on core is insane with drill, poison on the metronome or burn on the metronome is insane with drill. So there's so much. There's a lot of play to it, and it happens at the right time in the game where you get your enchant day 7, and that's about the time that if you don't have crescendo, your standard weapon build is falling off, and it gives you that natural transition into, okay, I need to find something more powerful that like,
Oh, okay,
okay,
so
I'm actually
you play
machine
drill
gunning.
like afterwards, like you don't do it early, right?
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
bronze drill day 1 does.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't do much, right? Like it's not. I don't think it's an early game card.
Yeah, okay. Do you have anything else? I put this on the guide here that you will write a guide on it, so if people want to like know more about it.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
write up my notes.
Yeah, right.
The other thing I just have is like pivots to combat core. The format is, or the patch, I guess I should say, is more about racing. So max HP was fucking shit in the last patch. This patch, it's great again, right? There's so many more fights. He has a big lifesteal weapon. I have a restorative combat core, and we're going blow for blow back and forth. So max HP is good. The restorative and shielded enchants are great. Obsidian is great. uh chocolate bars or whatever, all that stuff is back to being good. Like last patch, it was like, did I kill them with my first 2 or 3 volleys of weapons? No. Okay, then they have infinite shield, and it doesn't really matter like what my defensive stuff is. Like like a skill that was really bad last patch, I thought, was like the when you get to half health, freeze all your opponent's items. I thought it was completely worthless against like pig infinites and whatever infinite
Yeah.
pufferfish. Like, it didn't do anything. But now it's back to being great again. Like everything's a race. So stuff that triggers on you going to half HP has gone way up in value compared to last patch.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do you have anything else, like something small, or do we go to another?
Let me check here.
Just for like builds or cores, yeah.
Yeah, no, just that when I play Burn Core, it's like I'm playing it really with an eye to pivot. Really with an eye to pivot. Unless, maybe I get an early Omega Ray and I feel like I could take that all the way to 10 wins. But it's hard. It gets hard in those late days still.
Yeah, all right. One guy is saying in chat, can you put which cores are good with which builds? Well, I think this meta, like Walter Cooler kind of said it, that the core doesn't actually matter as much, like the stuff you have left the core matters more, so yeah.
Yeah, it's your engine. It's like, are you a railgun build, a armadillo build, or a drill build? Like, and each one can make a loop that is going to power your core, regardless of what your core is, or even if it's combat core.
All right. Thank you, Walter
Yeah.
Coolest. And we got the 610, right?
Yeah. So do we start with the course or the build?
Up to you.
All right. I think I'll start with the course.
Okay.
So for me personally, the hardest day to win currently is day 1.
Okay.
And that's because you only have one shop to essentially assemble your board.
Yep.
And for that reason, I think, but I could be wrong, I think that Ignition has to be the best core. because
Yeah.
it's the most consistent day one.
Yep.
And then, as Walter already said, the cores don't matter as much later on. So
Yep.
I have Ignition in S+, and then Crit Core in S, I think. And then in A tier, I have V Core and Armored Core, which I think are both great. They, just as Nacer said, have a bit of consistency problems. And then I haven't played the last two cores, so I can't comment on their strength.
Okay.
All right, so that covers the cores.
Nice.
As for builds, I have 3 builds I think are all great, but for different reasons. So we have 2 builds that I would say are the best 10-0 builds, in that they will most consistently give you 10-0s. But the problem is that they aren't as easy to force as the third build. And those builds are Cloak, Pulse Rifle, I think might be the best build in the game for getting 10, like winning every single day. And
You're using it all the way to 10?
Yeah, exactly. From day 1 to
Right.
day 10. I think it's borderline unbeatable. But of course, you have to find the Cloak and you have to find the Pulse Rifle. And that's the big problem, right? So you can't force this build every time. But if you happen to get the Cloak, like from Courier day 1 or day 2, I think that's the absolute best build in the game currently, because it has inbuilt scaling and inbuilt haste. And the 2 things that Duelist struggles with right now are finding haste and finding scaling. So having that as early as day 2 is amazing, because then you can spend. Yeah.
Do you
Continue
upgrade a
with this
cloak
question.
also, or?
It depends on, like, I think initially it's better to upgrade or rather initially it's better to go for skills, because skills give you extra experience. So
Yep.
I wouldn't really like when you play cloak, I don't think you upgrade that much. You would rather get skills and find like strength, for example, the bronze skill that gives +10, or some kind of way of generating crit on your rifle. So, but if I were to upgrade, I think probably cloak to silver for scaling,
Okay.
because it effectively doubles the scaling. But then after that, I wouldn't upgrade it again. I think it's
All right.
diminishing returns. But I think that's the strongest build in the game by far. Like, I have probably had 4 10-0s since the patch with the cloak and rifle, and it wasn't even close. And then the other build I think is super strong for 10-0s is Railgun. But the problem with
Yep.
Railgun is that it's expensive and you can't force it, because
Yep.
it's a large silver item. But if you find a Railgun and you haven't lost day 1, for example, I think Railgun is by far the easiest way to win like a 10-0. So I would put those as the best builds for gaining as much MMR as possible if you find the items. So if you find a Railgun and if you find a cloak, that is the best build. But the best build overall for actually consistency, I think, is, as Nacer said, Armadillo, Tape, and Pulse Rifle. Because those are bronze items that you can find anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, you always kind of play that. Like, that's the standard kind of, right?
Correct.
Like on
Yeah,
every,
that's what you aim for.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I think this meta is for me the most fun, because it's so easy to pivot. Like, you're not forced to play the same build from day 1 to day 10 anymore. You can slot in new things. You can even try a drill later on.
Yeah.
So that's my S tier for builds, those 3. And
Okay.
I think I don't know how easy it is to find cloak yet, because maybe I've just been lucky. But if cloak is somewhat reliable to force, I think that could be the strongest build. But if it's not easy to force, then I think Armadillo is the strongest, probably. And then Railgun is the third best.
Yeah. Okay, I gotta ask you the same question as I did to Snasser. If you have all of that, Alpha Ray, Dillo, Duct Tape, Pulse, and all of that, like everyone has, because that's the standard. Do you switch to Railgun? When do you switch to Railgun? Do you switch to Cloak Pulse Rifle? When do you switch? Yeah.
It depends if I have lost games or not. Because the problem with Railgun is that it falls off around day 12, I would say, or day 11. So if you put all your like marbles into your Railgun, for example, like go all in tech, and you have lost, say, 3 times, that means that it won't be able to carry you to 10 wins. So assuming we don't concede, I don't think I pivot to Railgun unless I have won all of my games. because Railgun is very much like a 10-1 or 10-2 kind of build. It doesn't perform well in the late game. So I would say if I have lost games, I won't pivot to Railgun. But if I'm winning with Armadillo, I might switch to Railgun because it's so good in the middle game and late game.
Yeah. Have you ever picked? Oh, okay, sorry.
No, go on. I have also two questions, but finish.
All right. Do you ever pick Railgun after level 7, or do you always pick before?
Well, always before. Well, it
Right.
depends if it's like diamond or gold, of course. But
Yeah,
a
yeah,
silver railgun, I will never pick after like day 6. I think that's it's not worth pivoting because it's such a big pivot. Like all your previous items are now useless, and then you have to find the tech. It's just a big commitment, right? So I wouldn't
Yeah.
pivot to railgun after day 6, probably.
Okay, so same thing that you said about Railgun. Do you say the same thing about the cloak? Like it's 10-0,
Yes,
10-0? Yeah.
you can't pick. You
Yeah.
can't pick cloak if you lost games. The cloak
Yep.
is not viable after day 10. It's like yeah, it doesn't work after day 10.
Yep. Would you say max day 10 or?
I mean, you can. It depends if you find like augmented weaponry or crescendo. Like if you find an insane, like if you find some other thing that's insane, like a skill, for example, I think you can take it to day 12. But the beauty of the cloak is that even if you like don't find anything else, cloak and rifle is so strong together that you can get it to 10 wins, even if you are unlucky, so to speak, on your skills, etc.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, Snazzer?
Yeah. So I have two questions for you. One, you have never like mentioned Alpha Ray. I think like Alpha Ray is like such a key item for me.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm using Alpha Ray in 2 of those builds. So Alpha Ray goes into the cloak build and into the Harma build. That's an S tier item, of course. I don't consider Alpha Ray a build so much as it's just an auto including like every single weapon build.
Yeah, it's basically. like standard dually.
Yeah. It's like Aiden. Like first Aiden is an auto include. It used to be anyway. Like it's the same for me with Alpha Ray.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because like for me, Alpha Ray is just the item that you like nearly always have and nearly always upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, if we consider Alpha Ray to be a build, I would say that's the best build. But I feel like Alpha Ray is a part of so many different builds. I don't consider it a build in its own. But maybe I'm wrong on that. Like,
I think
if Alpha Ray is a build,
Snazzer, you didn't play last patch that much, but I think after last patch, everyone kind of have this feel where weapons are just standard, and then we just move past that, and we just like, okay, we all agree that this is the standard that you have on duty. Yeah.
The second question, like my experience from the last 2 days, and I've played like probably 12 hours each day, is as soon as you hit like day 10, if your opponent is not a dually, the possibility for either the very craziest one-shot one-weapon build Vanessa or the craziest Caltrops Pygmalion is more or less the standard in 80% of the opponents if it's Vanessa or like Pygmalion. So I am struggling with every single build, and it does not really matter for me whether I run, I don't know, this build or that build, if I have crescendo, if I don't have crescendo, if like I can't high roll high enough to beat those. So when you say Railgun is falling off or this is not good enough after day 10, like how do you, if ever, beat those opponents?
Okay, so as for Caltrops, I don't think like Caltrops is a gold medium item, right? Starting, so you should face Caltrops as often as you face like a Chrono from a dually, and I find Chrono to be also nearly unbeatable. So if you face an opponent with a Chrono Barrier or a Caltrops, you will probably lose, right? But there is like no way to play around that because those are like the 2 most broken items. But they're also gold starting. So statistically, I don't think you like. I maybe face a Caltrops once every 3 or 4 rounds. So I like obviously I can't play around it, right? Because it's so rare. But there is no way to I don't think you can counter Caltrops unless you're playing like Armored Core Force Field and have like defensive grid or something. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I agree that Caltrops is unbeatable. But I also think that Chrono Barrier is unbeatable. So like those are the 2 items that are that probably need nerfs. If I were to recommend two like items that were to be balanced, it would be those two, I think. But
Okay.
yeah,
So maybe it's just me being unlucky because like
I think so because
I'm like
again,
facing like
Caltrops, yeah,
Yep. because I'm facing
so,
like
yeah.
yeah,
Go
sorry,
on,
sorry.
sorry.
I'm just facing like Caltrops, like literally I would say 80% of the Pygmalions I face after day 10. And like 2-3 in a row, it's just like I'm done. Like if I go past day 10 and I face like Pygmalion, I can just concede. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the case for you, I think like if you're obviously in that case, maybe conceding is correct, but I don't. So far, I haven't had to concede very much this meta, which is why I enjoy it. But if I were to start facing pigs every time day 10, I think I would probably start conceding because that's just like that's not fun, right? If it's happening all the time. But for me, it hasn't. I like again, I faced maybe one Caltrops every 3 or 4 rounds, so it's not that much for me. But so for my A tier builds, I have Armored Core and Force Field, which I think is very strong if you get all the necessary pieces. But that's the problem; it's not consistent. As you need tape, you need Uzi, you need a lot of scraps on your tape. You need to upgrade your core to gold as soon as possible. But if you can get all of that going, like by like day 4, day 5, I think Force Field is very strong. But the big weakness is that it's not consistent enough, I find. And then the other A tier build for me is Combat Core, which I think is a very good scaling option. The only problem is that it's a bit slow because there is no inbuilt like haste on it or any way to charge it. So yeah, I would put Combat Core and Force Field in A tier respectively. They are fine options, but they do struggle with consistency issues.
All right.
I think
Anything
that.
else?
Oh, and yeah. So drill, I haven't played as much drill as Water Cooler, but my big issue with drill is that it doesn't scale itself. So even if you're firing it like 17 times in one match, its base damage is like 50 or something. So how do you solve the scaling? With like, of course, if you find a broken skill, of course, but like, how do you reliably scale your drill? Is my
Well, I
question
just
to
use it
Walter.
to proc. Like you just use it as an engine to proc the core to proc your alpha ray. So you don't even
Okay.
like, or if you have it enchanted, then you can go that route too. Like especially if you're burn core drill, then you could try to get like a fiery drill and whatever. Try to go like a something where you're scaling your burn items off of the drill procs that are procking the core.
Sure.
So
Okay. Thank you, because I wasn't sure how you solved that.
yes, and of
All
course
right.
you need, and like you definitely need skills for drill. Typically, like I think that if you're picking for it or looking for those skills, they are there for you in the pools that you're gonna have access to in the key days. They're in like 5, 6, 7, 8. Like you're gonna have opportunity to pick up skills that are relevant for procking drill.
All right. Okay. So Ty, do you have a tier list yourself,
I put it
or
in the
is it just
Discord. Let me see.
the viewers? Sorry, I think it's muted.
Oh shit. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I muted.
Like,
I have it in my Discord right now.
okay.
Like I put
I'm
everything.
just
Yeah.
curious because you've been playing a lot of the patch as well, right?
Uh, kind
Or
of. Not super much, but yeah, maybe
okay.
5, 6 games a day.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me see. I'll bring it up here. I mean, I don't have anything on Vanessa or Pig, so we would need some Vanessa and Pig players here if we want something on those.
I don't think there are any Pig or Vanessas in Legend, unfortunately, at the moment. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Let me see here. So what I did was railgun on any core. I think is like, well, for me, I haven't really played until I haven't lost a lot, so it's been like day 12 maybe as my worst. So I think Railgun has been really good for me because of that, because it's a early game thing, right? It doesn't scale that much, but it has so much base damage, so it's so good. So yeah, it's been really good for me. So I feel like that one has been the best for me. But yeah, if you lose early days, I agree with everything that you guys have said about that for sure. When it comes to, I think Armored Core Force Field Duct Tape, I think, yeah, obviously that one is either you hit or miss, right? But you can definitely get it to gold consistently, right, with your upgrades, level up upgrades.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's more consistent than other patches, I guess, like the other patches when it was good. But yeah, like day one and stuff can be iffy, right? So I don't know.
So day one, you can play it like a red core, for example,
Yeah.
if you find a Armadillo. I think so. I would like to play more Armored Core because I haven't had the chance to try it as much as I would like. But I think there is a possibility that we are kind of sleeping on it. Just that you have to kind of play it differently before you find the force field. But I don't know.
Have you
I would love to
played?
hear if there's.
Have you played
Sorry,
with
go on.
blast doors more, or
I
have you
think
played with?
Blast
Yeah.
is very bad, unfortunately. I
Oh,
mean,
really?
it's fine item if it's a fine
Yeah.
item if you find it. Of course, you
Yeah.
take what you get. But the problem is that day one, you can face like poison, you can face burn. There are so many instances where it doesn't necessarily help you as much. So I think that's the problem. It doesn't necessarily always help, but I think day one it's still super strong. But overall, I think on Armored Core you would rather have small fast items that charge your core. Assuming we find like force field and tape, we don't want a blast doors as well. We would rather have like an Uzi and a metronome or something like that. But I don't know. I'm not super high on blast doors.
Okay. Have you? Yeah, I think blast doors like day 1 to 5 is good. Have you versed blast doors or had it early?
I've played it early a lot because, like you, I think it's super strong day one. But the problem is that maybe I've just been unlucky. But if you face a matchup that doesn't have like 5 weapons, going at you, it's just a dead item, and you like it because it doesn't help your game plan, right? Like blasters is a medium item that says if I face weapons, I win. But of course, if you don't face weapons, then you lose 2 board slots. But I don't know. I think it's a good day one item, but I don't think it's a viable item to run in the middle and late game. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, I had it yesterday on stream when I play Armored. I switched it out, even if it was on gold. I switched it out on day 5. So yeah, but I think before then, like most builds that you're gonna verse, most likely is burn or weapon, and it works on burn also, right? Same as weapon.
Yeah, true.
And yeah, it's only poison that really beats you, or pacifist, I guess. But yeah, you would probably play it with in Armored Core. You don't play it like all the time, I guess.
So.
All right. Do we have anything else? I don't think there is more. Oh, wait. I see one guest here. Okay. Are you guys good here before I bring the next guest?
I forgot one more thing, actually. Why I think that Combat Core is very good is because it turns out that heavy machinery is bugged. It keeps going forever. Like the skill that hastes your core. It says that it only lasts for, I think it's 4 times, but it actually goes on forever. So
wait, with the normal core also, with Armored Core, Crit Core, stuff like that?
Oh, sorry, I meant Combat Core. I meant like if you run a double core build, the skill heavy machinery is like the old heavy machinery. So it generates haste forever. So that's why I think that Combat Core is pretty good, because that skill specifically works. It's bugged currently, so it's much better than it should be.
So it only works with Combat Core?
No. So it's 2 seconds every time you use the core. But the problem is if you only have 1 core, it can be hard to get full uptime. But if you have 2 cores, it's effectively full uptime now. So that's why I think that Combat Core is pretty good, because you have a skill now that effectively solves haste for you when you have 2 cores. If it wasn't bugged, I think that Combat Core would be a bit worse, because it's kind of hard to find haste on the Combat Core.
Yeah, all right. Wait, so a heavy machinery is actually bugged. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I found it out today, I think. So I've picked it because I think it's still fine. But then I had a long game like that, lasted for quite a bit, and I noticed that I kept getting haste, and then I figured it was the heavy machinery that was the cause.
All right. Well, then it's heavy machinery is back. Then I guess.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit stunned because I played Combat Core quite a bit and I still pick heavy machinery and I have noticed it. Like I might be wrong, right? But I'm like I'm not certain it was the case for me. Like my intuition tells me it was not the case for me. I cannot say for
Okay.
sure, but I would be like 80% putting it into 80% certainty range that it was not the way for me. And I have played
Okay.
Combat Core quite a bit, and it's still like reasonable without heavy machinery. But maybe this is wrong, and I don't know, have only short fights with the thing or something.
Yeah, I only noticed it today, so I could be wrong as well. But if this
Kuistre
is the
says.
case, yeah.
Yeah. He says it's bugged too. Yeah. Let's bring him in. What up? You here? Kuistre Alvest.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah, I also noticed that it had to be bugged because 5 times heavy machinery definitely procced more than that. And then I think it's useless to upgrade it when offered the option from 5 to 10.
Yeah. Obviously, yeah. There's another guy in YouTube chat that says that official Discord have reported being uncapped also, so I guess it is bugged. Good to know.
Yeah, so that's an insta-picked. Now that you know that it's bugged, I guess.
Yep.
It's too bad because, well, you have to abuse it because you would have picked it probably even if it was not bugged.
Yeah. I mean, I have
So it's like
definitely
kind
picked
of
it. I
an
just didn't notice.
yeah, no, but I mean,
But
even knowing it, it's kind of an ethical abuse, I think.
It doesn't
but is
matter.
it like only
Closed beta.
bugged for the Combat Core, or is it also bugged for
No,
the
it's
normal
Just
cores?
bugged.
it's
Yeah.
for all cores. I haven't played Combat Core a lot, and it's just when you use the core, it hastes ind indefinitely. It's basically like all the heavy machinery.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
sick, man.
so because it's harder these days to find perma haste, I think that this is like it's even stronger now because you're not as likely to face another build that has perma haste. So I think even if it's been nerfed, this bug makes it somehow feel even stronger because you stand out in the crowd currently. But if everyone
Yeah,
figures this
that's
out,
true.
maybe everyone starts picking it, even like if they only have one core. I don't know. So
Yeah,
we'll
but
see.
as you said, I mean, it's better in the sense that haste is more difficult, but it's like worse intrinsically because before it was like haste for 4 seconds, and now it's only for 2 seconds. So you don't have perma haste just through this skill usually, unless you have 2 cores, like you said.
Yes, true.
Yo, guys, just one question. You guys know where Radesh is? Like, anyone
And
I
this
watching?
don't know.
Okay. Yeah. I guess he just
like
stopped
30
this.
minutes ago, so maybe he's having dinner.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yo, Kusre, do you have anything? Do you wanna put some builds and stuff?
Yeah,
Cores?
so yeah, I played Dooley exclusively this meta. I didn't
Yep.
try Pig and Vanessa to lose a lot of MMR like last meta. It's clear for me that Dooley is still the best, like by far.
Yep.
I didn't play Weaponized and Companion, obviously. I played all other cores, and I especially spammed Armored as much as I could. So
Okay.
I think I would say, contrary to 16, that Force Field is very forceable. The thing that makes it less good than Ignition is just that, well, it loses to Ignition like early game.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
But it's extremely easy to force all the pieces of Force Field by like day 2 or 3 usually, because they're all bronze almost, except
Yeah.
Metronome. But like Metronome is not a must-have early game.
Yeah.
Um,
Yo, Kusre,
the only thing with
just 1 sec, just to
yeah.
make it easier. Can we do like the cores and builds, or
Oh
builds and
yeah.
cores, like S tier and
Okay. Would agree with Ignition being S tier,
okay.
Ignition and Crit Core, just like everyone said.
Okay. Yeah.
But I would put Ignition just because with Ignition you can miss early game and just kill through the burn stacking with any items more or less.
Yeah.
And like crit core is probably better if you hit, but if you don't hit alpha ray and it can happen, well then it's worse. So I think ignition and crit core are the best. Then armored as a tier armored and the core.
Yep.
But for me, the core is just a worse crit core. I don't see anything to put right to it. That I mean, there's combat core, but I don't really like combat core that much. Actually, it's good only if you hit heavy machinery. I don't see any instance where it's good otherwise.
All right.
And I haven't played armored and companion, but they're probably unplayable. I mean, our
You mean
weaponized can
weaponized?
still
Yeah.
be played like worst crit and worst the core, but there's no way you put anything to the right of it.
Yeah. All right. Nice. Let's go builds then.
Yeah. So for ignition core and crit core, I mean, I would agree that basically on all the cores except armored, which where force field is the best. But on all the other cores, the best are just weapons with alpha ray, armadillo, duct tape. It's crit core, ignition, the core, or weaponized. Just
All
because
right.
it's so
Alpha race
easy,
then. Yeah.
all items are bronze. So alpha ray, pulse rifle, armadillo, duct tape.
Yeah. So that's S, the best, or
Yeah, that's S, and that can make 10 wins like very consistently. The only thing where I would say, I mean, for me, the best dually build late game, and it can also be perfect sometimes, is force field. Force field is basically only dependent on whether you face burn like day 2, 3, 4 or not.
So
After
one
that, you
question
outscale.
on how do you
Sorry?
play the armored core day 1 and 2 before you have, because early on you don't have
You
enough board
find
space for the force field, right? You have to play something else in the meantime. So what do you usually try and play before you have the
I
full?
actually I've had day one like if I got lucky, armored duct tape force field, I play it.
Wow. Okay. I
Usually
mean, with that kind
usually
of luck, I see why it's S tier for you. But
But I'm just saying force field is hard to hit very early, but if you hit it very early, I feel like it's still fine. Like you scale the armored and day 1 and 2, it's enough to win against almost anything. But usually I just play weapons still, especially if I find armadillo, because even without the duct tape, armored core acts as a fast proc to armadillo. So weapons and armadillo is fine.
have you tried Brick
Uh,
Buddy like in the early game? Because I think
uh,
in bronze it's been buffed. I could be wrong, but I think it's a bit stronger
yeah,
with
yeah.
bronze
10
now.
more armor. Yeah.
I mean, maybe it is, but I haven't picked Brick Buddy once. I haven't even read it once,
Me neither.
probably. I
Right.
only picked it on companion, and like I really don't see how I would play it like
Yeah, I
without.
mean just temporary until you find the force field, but maybe that's still bad. I don't know.
I, I think that's worse than just weapon. Like any core can just play weapons, alpha ray, and with armored, it's worse in the sense that it doesn't hit like crit core or weaponized, but it's good when you have armadillo, and also it's good for like survivability until alpha ray scales enough. And anyway, like when you find force field, you pivot to force field every time, I think, because with no slow, I think force field is extremely good. Uzi, Aiden, metronome, then the usual armored core, duct tape, force field, and even battery if you find it at silver or above, can still win every matchup except burn early. But even from mid and late game, I feel like I beat burn a lot because then you usually have like a percentage skill at start, the percentage shield at start skill, or some I mean, some things that makes you kill them in 3 or 4 hits. They usually don't heal, and even though they destroy your shield, well, you still live enough by shielding and shielding and shielding, and with a few hits, force field usually kills them. So the only problem is that if you face burn like days 2, 3, 4, 5, you can lose. That's
Yeah.
not consistent to get perfect or 10-1 or even 10-2s. And also one thing I want to mention on every core, I'm not doing it because I don't really like conceding that much, but if the level 10 enchant is not slow or haste, and you don't have already perma haste like through heavy machinery or something, I feel like there is no way to beat perma haste or perma slow with any other enchant.
Yep.
And if you don't hit it, it's worth like conceding, no matter your build at like day 7.
I actually said that to Reynard before the patch. I said it's the biggest slot machine right now.
Because like slow and haste on core are both slow 2 for 3 seconds, and like the core, if you have a good build, it procs every second or more. So you have it's so much better than every other enchant on anything else. And if you don't hit it, even against a worse build that has a heavy or turbo core, I think you lose almost every time.
Yeah.
So I think both Railgun and Cloak Rifle can win even without those enchants, just for the record. But I agree on all other builds, you probably will be very unfavored if you don't get those enchants. But Railgun doesn't really need like an enchant on the core because it has so much like base damage.
I mean, yeah, and Railgun, you have also the thing that you can put shielded Railgun or restorative Railgun, which is extremely OP too.
Yeah, or Deadly, which is also
Yeah.
quite crazy.
Yeah, Kuster, do you
Yeah.
want to put more builds here? SAB, like Railgun or anything?
No, I think that's all the builds. I would just say that
so two builds?
Force Field, you already wrote it. Force Field is the best dually build late game, and it can beat Vanessa Pig. I think it's the only thing that can kind of consistently do it with the right skills, at least. Because if you don't
Yeah.
have, if you don't really don't have any skills, you don't win.
Yep. So Alpha Ray, Standard, and Force Field. You don't want to put the Railgun or anything else?
Yeah,
anywhere?
I can. I mean, I didn't just repeat what was said, but still, Power Drill, Railgun are extremely good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Power
where?
Drill, especially once you have retooled the ×2 on tool.
Yeah.
Like you play Power Drill and you usually have haste, slow, burn. No matter your core, it's the fastest you can have. And as someone mentioned, I think it seems like I didn't know it, but once he explained it, it's clear to me that it goes much faster than the internal cooldown should, because
Yeah.
it's still like 10-second item. So even charging every 2 seconds, it should be only 1 second every proc. But it goes much faster than that, because it seems like if you haste and slow simultaneously, it goes 2 charges at once.
Yeah, you can basically go every 0.2 seconds if you high roll it all the way. But yeah.
If you have all the 5, you go every 0.2 second. Because
Yeah.
if you didn't have that, honestly, it would not be that good. Even constantly charging it, it would be just 1 second, which is like Uzi perma hasted.
Yeah. Kusra, last thing. Where do you want to put this stuff? Like Railgun, like AB, SAB.
Say Railgun is in S, but
Okay.
only, I mean, I don't like putting in S a build that's less consistent to get, but if you find a Railgun day 2 at Silva, obviously you pick it, you find any tech you like, and then you can force it.
Yeah.
But
Let's
if
say
you
you have
cannot
a
force like
full. Let's say you have a full Alpha Ray build, the standard build, and then you find Railgun before level 7. Do you switch to Railgun or not?
Before level 5 at silver, I would. If I find it at gold level 6, I mean, if I find it at gold, I would pivot almost until day 7, I think.
Okay.
But other than that, like I would not pivot if I find it after day 4 or 5 at silver.
Yeah. I mean, like level 7. Level 7 is when you can upgrade it from silver to gold. From leveling. Yeah.
Okay, but so day 5, I mean, yeah, he said day 4 or 5 is basically level 7
Yeah.
usually.
Okay, so you wouldn't take it after level 7, but you would take it before level 7.
Before level 7, I would always take it
Yeah.
and then upgrade this, and in the meantime, find the tech I need. After level 7, I would only buy it at gold.
Yeah, right. Nice. And then drill, where's drill? A, B?
Drill for me, I would put it in A, because
Right.
it's definitely S if you already have like retooled, but like before that, I would put it in A, and like retooled is like a level 14 skill. So, but I always buy it, and then I can pivot pretty easily on any build if I find retooled.
All right. Can we agree on that the drill is probably more of a late game build rather
Yeah.
than the other builds are like very early,
Except for
Yes.
shield, but yeah.
Yeah. So can you switch to drill after doing all the early day stuff? Like let's say alpha standard or railgun or whatever, you've lost a bit and then you fuck it, I'm a switch to drill now because I have a really good setup for it. Do you do that in a late game?
Yeah, and I think you almost always have a very good setup for it, because late game, usually you have haste, slow, like through skills, you have all the things that trigger it. And it's a weapon, so it's still something that you can put where you would put pulse rifle or any like medium weapon. Like it still gets procced by alpha ray, and it's still something very fast that procs the core very fast.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty easy to pivot to it.
All right. So yeah, I think we went through everything. Like, there's not that many builds, right? We all said, I mean, we all agree that alpha ray weapons is just a standard thing that you always do in every core, I guess. And then you can pivot to railgun. I think most agree that you pivot to it before level 7. If you don't find it after that, I mean, if you find it on silver after level 7, it's gonna be hard. And then we have a combat core, we have force field, we have drill. And yeah, that's about it, right?
I have one question.
Yeah.
It's to everyone really, but do you guys find it easier this patch to climb than the last? Or because personally I find it easier so far, but maybe that's just because it's early. I would love to hear what like.
Yeah, I think it's because it's early.
Okay.
I think it's intrinsically easier, and I think it will still be easier after, but it's difficult to say. But I feel like now, if you want to climb, the strat like play ignition until day 7. If you find haste and slow, you continue. Otherwise, you concede. It makes you climb. I would feel like it could make you climb almost as much as in a previous meta. Like not the one, but the one just before, with the monitor lizard and the ignition. Like I can get to 7-0 a lot with ignition core, but then I go 10-2, 10-3, or even 9-4 if I face high rolls.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree. It's
Yeah.
it's just sorry.
Yeah, you can continue your thought.
Okay, so I agree. It's like very, very at the moment. It's very easy to climb because I think for like good plays get rewarded, like taking Choco, knowing when to pivot, considering your odds, and especially the early and mid game, you have a lot of agency. And if you concede here and there, I think you should be on par with the 2 patches ago. So there's that. But also, I think like in a couple of days, people will adapt and learn what to do, and then it might change a little bit.
Yeah. One question for all of you. Do you guys think the meta is settled? Do you think we're missing something, or is this it?
I think that more people will probably discover Cloak, because I don't know if you guys remember. I think it was maybe 4 patches ago when flagship Vanessa was like the best
Yeah.
build. On Dually, the way you play Dually was to force. It was when rifle was 3 seconds on silver,
Yeah,
Like the
yeah.
best dually build back then was cloak rifle, like easily. It was the only way you could like outrun the Vanessas. So, but that was and I think that now we're kind of back to that same level of speed. Like the meta slowed down again. Like the last 2 patches were crazy. So I think that cloak is viable again because it's in a meta where it's more like about sustain and scaling like it is currently. Cloak is a very strong item. So I think more people,
Yeah.
we can probably expect to see more cloaks, probably.
Nice. Anyone else have an answer to that? Is it settled? Do we have everything here, or are we gonna find something late? Like last patch, I think people were a little bit slow on the ballista actually. People were playing a lot of other stuff. Yeah.
I just want to jump in and say I think it's 2 days is or 3 days, whatever, is way too early to say everything has been found. Typically something else. I think like big fort pig builds are gonna become very popular in the next couple days. I expect to see a lot of pawn shops or whatever, and yeah, I think there's more to develop in this meta. I think it's not figured out yet. I think high HP strategies, which were completely useless in the last patch, are completely back on the menu, and that still hasn't been adjusted to. Everyone else still hasn't adjusted to that. Is a better way of saying it.
All
I
right.
mean, I don't think for those who aim to climb in the top 100, for those I don't think there's much changing. It's more about like there's like small adaptation and probably a little bit to figure out on the other heroes. I can think of. I don't think on Dooley specifically too much is changing. It's just like rock paper scissors, but I don't think we're missing any key items. So I don't think that is happening. But it's like a little bit about, do you not concede? Yeah.
Oh shit! Wait. We have one more guest here. I didn't see it. Let's go through him real fast, and then I'll do the closing. Oh, Slow-mo, I didn't see you, man.
Yo.
Yo.
No, I just joined like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, okay. Do you want to do this also, or?
No, I haven't played a ton. I didn't want to give my like tier list or anything because I don't think I have one. I just wanted to talk. Do you guys like that it's just Dooley like every time? Like I think that's wrong. I think Vanessa should be the base most powerful hero just because she's the starter hero. And I think they should all be balanced, like, preferably. But if one of them was going to be broken, I think it should be Vanessa because all the weaker players should have access to that.
I think that would be the best thing for player retention, would be that when the game goes free to play, I would hope that they make Vanessa the strongest character, because I think that's what will make the game the most popular.
I don't even know about like strongest, but she should have like a couple simple builds that like a noob could play to 7 wins, like decently.
Yeah,
well.
I agree really strongly with
I
that.
think her weapons should be buffed. Like the fact that Dooley is beating her in the early game doesn't make sense to me.
Exactly. Yeah, the weapons should be buffed to the point where they can get you like 7 wins, and then it's like late game you start losing to like tech and stuff like that. That people who actually know what they're doing. I also agree with Snazzer. I like this point. I do think there's a lot more agency in your decisions, so I do think there's more skill. But I think that just completely stops at level day 7 when you get your enchantment, and then the skill is all gone.
Yeah, that is
right.
it's
you're playing super skilled all the way to that point. You're making lots of great decisions, and then it's just like, oh shit, did I win or did I lose?
Yeah.
I think the late game has always been very like RNG. Like the late game feels for me the least skill intensive because of the high roll potential. So I don't think this is unique for this patch. Like last patch, it was also all about the enchants and the skills.
Yeah,
I agree.
I also liked the mention of the Fort Pig, but I don't think those builds will be like good for like winning. Like if you want to climb yourself, I don't think you'll want to be playing to Fort Pig. You'll just be
I agree.
trying to climb, and then you'll lose to a Fort Pig, and then you'll get pissed.
So
Yeah,
we're getting a
that's
new
kind of my
ranked
prediction is that I'm going to
system.
be running into
Because you
them.
know it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. It's gonna beat you, but it's not gonna be winning them games. So you're gonna be mad.
Do you guys think with the new ranked system coming in a few weeks that Venezuela Pig, like even without any changes to balance, that we could see one of them becoming more viable? Or like
Yeah.
assuming,
No.
for example, that losses don't affect MMR.
If
Like,
they make it
I
more
mean, look at
about
average
like
wins, dude.
10 wins, yeah. But if they make it more about 10 wins,
yeah,
maybe. But even then, it's still like average wins. Dooley's hitting the average wins, right? So it's like he's
I
still
mean,
just
most
getting
of
Yeah,
the
I
there.
best
don't know.
play, it's biased because everyone that's trying to win currently are playing Dooley, right? So it's like
Yeah,
skewed towards Dooley.
exactly what I was
Yeah.
saying. I feel like when last meta I played Pig a lot, Pig and Vanessa. I lost a ton of MMR because like I
Mhm.
went 10-4, 10-5. But if it was just 10 wins, then I would
And you were
argue
losing early,
Pig might
probably lots.
Pig. The thing with Pig is like let's say someone talked about max HP Pig.
Mhm.
If you
Yeah,
really
it's
invest into match HP Pig, even by buying a pawn shop early, scaling it a lot, at some point, especially with the exponential HP increase, 10% option at level up,
mhm.
at some point you have 60k
50K.
HP with
Yeah,
double
yeah.
whammy, like you one shot everyone.
25,000.
And Dooley, if you low roll on Dooley, like it has happened to all of us, even without conceding, we just get 9
sure.
or 8 wins because
For sure.
like we didn't, yeah, we got unlucky the first 2-3 days, and then we like a late game it's high roll,
Yeah, you
so
can't
then
compete late
you
game.
don't control anything.
Yeah.
And Pig it's also RNG late game for Pig, but I feel like if you have a very good end game Pig build, you are the
I think
one who is the RNG to other duelies who lose.
I'll be interested how they rework the rank system. If they make it more about prestige, then I think Pig could become a top hero because he loses early and then he wins, right? So it's like if losing the first 3-4 days stops mattering because you can still gain with that amount of prestige left over, then I think Pig will be really good.
I think that would be very interesting because then Dooley might become the 10-0 hero in that like you want to win as fast as possible, right? To not have to play.
To
So it
not
would
take
be a
any
very
losses.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be interesting for sure.
Yeah,
Make
Even in
like
this
aggro
meta,
deck, yeah.
even in this current meta with like, you know, the 5+ games I've played, you know, running a couple like burn builds and some armor builds, I still think Dooley does have the weakest like late game. It's
For
just
sure.
like you don't
Yeah,
want
it has the weakest
no
late game,
one
sure.
cares about you don't want to play in the late game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
also don't forget that the weak Pig and Vanessa, they don't even have late game. You don't see them late
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
They're already dead
exactly.
too early, Dooley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
guys.
it's true. There's some
Wait, we gotta
survivorship
give space
bias
for
in the
Radish here.
pool.
He's fucking late, dude.
You're too fast. You're swift. You're quick.
Dude,
Like
this
a
fucking guy.
flash.
Yo, do you have
So-
tier list build scores? Tier list, or you wanna?
I'm not sure actually. I'm like torn between. I think the top two are like Ignition and Crit, but I'm not sure like which order. I've tried Ignition with just the Armadillo build. It falls off so hard late game. I'm not sure if it's the core's fault, if it's just Vanessa and Pig are too insane late game, like, and I just can't beat them. I don't know. It's like yeah, it's Crit Ignition, then it's Armor, then other stuff is just bad. So
All right.
I guess maybe
And
the core is
builds.
fine. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I haven't played enough, I don't think. I mean, I play all day, but like I still haven't played enough. Like I haven't played. I want like at least a dozen games on Railgun, on everything, and I haven't gotten there yet. I feel
Initial guesses, man. We're all guessing here.
like guessing.
Yeah. What do you feel?
I don't know. I feel like Armadillo feels very good on Crit Core. It feels
Yeah.
like it falls off on Ignition Core. And I wonder if I'm meant to play Ignition Core differently, or if it's just me and I'm bad at the game, or if it's the actual just the core is. But Crit Core feels so terrible early game as opposed to Ignition Core. Like Ignition Core is just so
Yeah.
free. Like early on,
Yep.
you just grab random stuff and it's just like GG.
Yeah, true.
Whereas Crit Core is like you can hit like Curio, you can hit a bunch of bad stuff and it's GG day one, and then you like lose a round already, and then it's like you're depressed as the game
Yeah.
because you're like half points already gone for the match, and
Yeah,
But
I'll make it easier for you. Okay. First question: is there any other build that we have missed? So we have the alpha ray weapons, the standard stuff with duct tape, dildo stuff, and we have railgun, and we have combat core, we have force field, and we have drill. Is there something else that you want to put in here? We also have cloak, pulse rifle. Cloak.
I think pulse rifle is just like a variation on the armadillo stuff, I would say. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the same. I guess the armadillo is an addition to the standard weapons build, I would say, I guess. But
Yeah, armadillo instead of Tesla, kind of right now.
yeah, basically.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's about it. I don't know. Like I mean, I just play armored with armadillo quite a lot. Well, I tried it
Yeah.
a few times. I'm gonna try it again. I mean, that's it basically. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to play the other classes a bit, I guess, but we're
Really?
not in ranked. I think
Okay,
there's so
yo,
many.
Radish. We have to push it out of you, man. S tier. Just put those builds. SAB. It's
SAB.
Yep. Just spit it out.
I would say armadillo is S.
All right.
Yeah, armadillo S. I would say railgun is worse than armadillo.
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, there's more consistency reasons basically. Like if you hit the railgun, basically before level 7, hit the railgun, it's very good. But if you hit it after 7, I feel like it's not worth it.
Okay,
Maybe
so
it's
if you hit the railgun before level 7, you would switch to railgun instead of alpha standard build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if the alpha ray is like bronze or something. Like if I got it after the upgrade, or if I didn't choose to upgrade the alpha ray, like which I sometimes do, which some
Wait. So you have a railgun on silver and you have alpha ray on silver. Sometimes you don't choose the railgun?
No, I mean if I have an alpha ray that's bronze,
Okay.
and I chose not to upgrade the bronze alpha ray to silver at my first upgrade beforehand, which I sometimes happen to do.
All right. Let's say you have silver alpha ray.
If you have a silver railgun, you upgrade a silver railgun to gold railgun. And if you play railgun, I think gold railgun on the 5 it carries you for a few days, and you can just do whatever for a while. That's a good advantage to have.
Okay. So we have standard, and then we have railgun, and then
if you find silver railgun after 7, it's a bit iffy to swap to it from armadillo to have the complete hump. Then I think that's iffy. And it's like, I don't know. I think force field is like bad. Like force field is like B tier. Force field.
B. Okay.
Yeah, force field is B tier, and like drill is like A tier, let's say, on ignition core. Let's say the drill.
All right.
Although I think it's like I have to learn how to play it better. I feel like drill is complicated to get going properly.
Okay, why is force field B here?
What about
You should
burn?
check out my drill guide in the Dually channel.
In the Dually, the drill guide.
Yo, wait. Did you put your guide already?
Yeah, it's in the Dually tier list.
What about burn, Raresh?
I don't know. Is there just a real? I've never actually haven't tried at all. Just pure burn. Just burn as a primary win condition. I haven't tried that yet.
I've only played 5-6 games, but I thought the burn build was the best because every single one of these builds you guys are mentioning relies on finding a silver tier item like later on, and you can play the burn build with anything. Like you just throw in any crappy burn item.
Well,
right
it's
gonna scale.
Bronze.
And the burn core also has the what's it called? It has the best upgrades on the core right now, I would say. Maybe crit core.
Explain. So I asked Nazar as well. I think he's in his thing. I'm like, how do you guys play ignition core lately? I don't actually know. Like to me, it's like
solar farm seems pretty strong right now.
Just slap farm and just play farm like full time, just forever. Just
I've never went to endgame with ignition.
Ignition, and then like the alpha ray, and then another burn item, and then the alpha ray scales your core and the burn item, and you go pretty fast. You do want a banana though. It's hard. You don't have the same survivability as other builds. I wouldn't put it at the S tier. I just think it's strong. I think it's better than force field because it beats force field. Unless you have defense grid.
I think force field is terrible. I think it's not the force
defense
field.
Grid. Defense grid is just like if you're saying force field's good, it's just because of defense grid.
No, I tried force field like 2 times, and it's like a few times I guess a little dispatch, and it's not the play. It feels a bit terrible. Like there's not.
It's
not the force
field late game.
If you have on armored core, I think armored core is good to pick just because it's good for armadillo. Like it's a fine core to pick for like early game, like weapons comp, basically comp. Like I think it's better than the core for just weapons comp. With Armadillo.
Yeah.
So like, if you haven't been on armored core, if you hit like at level 5, your skill is like hardened shield, have tape already. Armadillo. Then you can pay like
sure.
force field on that angle. I think
Yeah, I
hardened
think
shield makes it worth it kind of to go into that comp because you actually beat some people now. Like you beat the
I
weapons
think
people.
force field is the peak build in the game. Like, you know, like I think a force field build, like at its very best, beats
Yeah.
like literally everything.
If
But
you
I think you
are
need
like
a lot
if
of
you are tickling
you need a lot of
Reynard's
specific skills to get there.
yeah, if you're taking his tonsils, Reynard's tonsils, you can get all the skills and all the juice. Like force field is OP, yeah. But if you have like to play with mortal RNG, then with the RNG of normal people, then no, it's terrible. Sadly,
and
force field.
also, I mean, force field, I think it's just because mid game and I mean, early mid game it loses a lot to burn that it's bad, but it's very easy to force the right skills, especially like the dually vendor will upgrade your core to diamond pretty easily.
Yeah, pretty fast.
Like as soon as you have the level 7 upgrade, then you have the dually vendor. I think 2 levels after that. The problem is just before this you lose to burn. Other than that, I think force field would be very forceable even with the right skills because diamond armored core in this meta with no slows is extremely good.
Yeah, although whenever I was playing force field, I was getting slowed a reasonable amount as well. But yeah, force field is weak to well. Also, I mean, the flip side is this: force field is a build that thrives on casts, right? Like it has very strong casts in general, so it really loves having haste and not being slowed. The issue is, well, yeah, you're not getting slowed as much as before, but there's also less haste than before. So like if you miss on the enchant, on the haste enchant, it's
There
like
is you were not there when we talked about it, but did you know that heavy machinery is bugged? It's still perma haste.
oh yeah,
I mean, at
I've
least
heard
in Infinite.
from chat. Yeah, yeah.
I heard the first time
Usually,
here.
so as I said, that's why I talked about the dually vendor because you either upgrade your core very soon to diamond, and then the second or like the second one you get heavy machinery, and like the dually vendor you can force these skills pretty easily. I think he has like maybe 10 skills at most.
Heavy machinery isn't 5 times only.
It's
No, it's
uncapped.
infinite.
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't think
uncapped.
I don't think I noticed that.
Yeah, and upgrade does nothing to diamond. It's it lies to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I
You're being
realized that.
scammed. You're being plundered for your gold. Don't pay. It's they want your credit card details. Anyways,
That's cool.
the machinery vendors.
All right. I want to do closing stuff, but let me just see if Katja wants to join first. I want to hear. Katja said, "Force field was killing it day 1 of patch, but that's over now. Why is it over now?"
I mean, we're day 2 of patch, so.
Okay, nothing else said. Okay. Okay, I got one to all of you. I want last thoughts. I want like if Reynard was here, what would you tell him? Like about this patch? Like is it going in a good direction? Do you guys like this more than the patch before? Or are we like going in the right direction with patches?
Nerf caltrops.
No,
Overall.
I mean, caltrops is like a gold item. If we nerf caltrops, pig is definitely not playable right now.
Okay, overall, guys, like patch to patch, like are we getting better patches now, or what's happening?
It's overall it's an upgrade. It's basically an improvement from the December patch, which was already like kind of for me the best patch so far because even though Dually is too strong and we have like small issues and a few high roll stuff and we already have that covered, I feel like this patch gives a lot of agency. And you can see we're starting to like pivoting, that we're saying this is start, then we go there. If you hit this, you do this. And this is the vision Reynard has for the game. And I can see it now and it's feels great. And I think it's overall a great improvement and a great patch. And it's going perfectly in the right direction. There are only like, minor changes for balance, but overall perfect.
There should
Yeah,
be
it's my
twice
favorite
the
patch.
amount of nodes on day 1. That's the types of nodes. I dislike deeply the fact that we have to level to 2 on day 1 to compete right now.
It's because of the concede system, right? Like,
well,
I think
because of that, but also like if actually the concede actually kind of saves that situation because if there was no concede, you'd have to like go XP on one. Then if the shop is bad, you lose. If the shop is good, you win. That's it's not machine, right?
Nah.
There's no decision there. You have to be able to do
It's
it.
not like that though.
Like
Like
if you're level
Yeah, but
1,
16
like
is very
just die,
happy to
no?
have a curio. He's very happy to have a curio shop end of day 1 so that he can find his cloak.
The thing is, if you play without concedes on day 1, going for 2 XP is not always the best thing to do. Like
I
on
don't think
consistency
necessarily
wise.
that's the case.
I
Maybe,
think,
I mean-
you mean, I mean, best for the current MMR system or best for getting 10 wins? Because those are two different things.
Yeah, like
I
if
think,
with a new system, like where you don't
yeah.
concede, then I don't think this day 1 is a problem.
So on crit
Perhaps.
core, I go Alia over XP. Actually, I don't know if
I
you guys do that.
I do that as well. Also,
Yeah,
I started doing
because
that
Alpha Ray
this
is so
patch.
key. Like I don't care about being level 2
Yep.
day 1. I care about having an Alpha Ray. So I
Mhm.
skip XP if I find the weapons vendor on
Yep.
crit core specifically.
Yeah, there are many cases actually where you don't actually just auto level on day 1, and yeah, that's one.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
Either way, I still think it's I don't like the fact that it's like the same 3 nodes every game. Like it's still just you see the same nodes in the middle every day 1. Like I guess that's limitations of the situation, but yeah, I don't like that. I want to have to like hedge for it. Like there's a chance I don't see the next XP node. Like I don't know for sure it's gonna be like XP. Like that's
Yeah, I think a lot of it just stems from Lost Crate just being a really overpowered node compared to all the other ones, and you're guaranteed to get one. So, and then you feel like if you don't take it, you're trolling. And I think
Yeah.
that is it's like it's almost more that than it is that there's 2 XP nodes that you have to take. It's that you have to take a Lost Crate.
I
That's
like
the one
I like
that's
the
OP.
guaranteed level up. I like that everyone's offered like the opportunity to take
Yeah.
that day 1 level.
Do
Because
you
it
guys
was annoying when someone else would get it and you just didn't have the chance.
do you
Yeah, that's
guys
true.
upgrade or pick skill when you level up? I've started picking skill more frequently because apparently you still get extra XP from it. I thought they
One-
fixed this, but apparently they haven't.
no.
It
It's
depends
not
on my Alpha Ray
Yeah,
status.
depends on what you're upgrading, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, but like I think we should pick skill perhaps a bit more often because some of the skills, like especially bronze skills, have been buffed. Like strength,
Yeah.
for example, is like an upgrade. Like it's an upgrade on all your items if you have weapons. So,
On
but I don't know if that's correct.
On Ignition, for example, I don't like if I don't have anything to upgrade, I don't even upgrade the core. Like I'd rather take a skill because the skill could be stronger than upgrading the core because I'm not going Ignition all the way to the end anyway. I'm switching to something else.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of skills. I think especially silver skills are much better this patch than what they were last patch, on
Yeah.
average.
Yeah.
So many that are not that useless. Like before, sharp corners useless, defensive status useless. You had no tape, right? It's not now tape is back. These are now useful. Hardened shield is useful. All the good shield skills are useful. And then there's the new ones. The dancer one is ridiculous. The CDR one for the whole board because it's
Yeah.
just a free CDR. There's no condition to that
So
basically for
good.
Dooley. The damage one is ridiculous. The same condition. There's the CDR one. They are super high roll skills actually. I feel like they're ridiculous.
Okay.
So,
So yeah, I'll ask again
Did they remove that?
because
It's heavily nerfed.
Yeah, okay, thank God.
yeah,
It's
I'll
4
ask you guys
charges,
again
4, 8,
about
yeah.
the last part here because I think only Snazzer answered it. What do you guys think about this patch? Is it better than last? Are we going in the right direction?
I absolutely think it's better than the last patch. I think the most important thing for the game to feel fun is that when the fight it ends after it's been decided, if you know what I mean. So like what's really bad is having a player who 100% knows they're dead sitting there waiting to die to the sandstorm. That's really horrible for the game being fun. What's fun is that when a player wins, the game ends as soon as that player has quote unquote won, as soon as it's decided in their favor, that the game ends soon after. And this patch is so much better at that. And there's so much more racing, and there's so much more feeling like I actually don't know who's gonna win. Like when we start fighting, I don't know who's gonna win. Whereas last patch, it's like I look at their board and I'm like, oh okay, I'm dead, or oh, okay, you're dead. And I feel like this patch, I don't always know if I'm gonna win or not when I see the boards, and that to me is an improvement.
Nice. Someone else?
It's my favorite patch, I think. I've played
Nice.
since since the beta came out, and I'm having a lot of fun. I think there's a lot more diversity now. Especially in the Lizard meta, it was like you forced Lizard every time, and you forced Omega Ray every time. But now I don't feel like I'm forcing. Like, of course, I pick Armadillo, but if I, for example, happen to find a railgun or a combat core, I might pivot, which I wouldn't have done 2 patches ago. Like, as soon as you find your Lizard, you know you're playing Lizard for 10 days straight. But I think it's more in the spirit of what Reynard originally envisioned, like it being about whoever is more creative is like the better player. So yeah, I think it's a great patch personally.
Yeah,
Nice.
I totally want to agree.
Okay, who disagrees?
For me, subjectively, it's terrible. I think objectively, like for everyone, for the game, it's good, but for me, it's terrible because
Why?
it's too much dueling in a row. I enjoy switching up. I enjoy playing different things. I want to win as well, though. So I'm forced to play the same class for a million years. I mean, it's fun. It's a good class. It's an enjoyable play style, but not like forever. But I want to win, and I'm like I'm playable completely. It's impossible to win with them. Like early game, it's just free hello, like for the opponents. So.
Yeah.
Give Vanessa and Pig some early game options so I can actually play them. And the game is fun for me again. But now, right now, it's just I feel like depressed. Like, oh, Dooley against the Sleeper. Like, that's my feeling.
Let's say until they change the MMR system, and maybe losing day one is not as much a big deal.
Maybe, I guess. I don't know.
I mean,
but then again, like, look at Katana. Look at what Katana does. The fucking 8 damage Katana. The damage on the weapons on Vanessa are terrible. The numbers are terrible. Buff her items. Buff her early game items so she can play. Like, why are we like, oh, just wait until the MR is changed so we can throw day one? I don't want to do that. I want to win day one. What? They buff the items so she can play the classes. I don't know. That's my
okay.
feeling.
So we got two main things here that I think probably all of us agree with: balance on all classes and agency until level 10, and then it becomes a slots machine with the enchant. So are those the two biggest things?
I feel that enchants are a little bit more fair than you're giving them credit, in the sense that at least for Dooley, if you're talking about a world where we're only seriously considering picking Dooley, I think your chances of getting something that is really only things that are really terrible is kind of low, and that your floor is pretty decent. Between either you can get a restorative, lifesteal, or shielding on your main damage source, or you can get haste or slow on the core. And I think either one of those is decent. I mean, obviously, haste or slow on the core is amazing, but the restorative and shielding and obsidian on your main damage dealing weapon is also really strong. And and also if you have combat core, then restorative combat core is insane. Restorative combat core is like really good.
Yeah. All right.
I think like you phrase it just too hard a little bit, Tash. To be honest, like it's like we still have agency after they level 10. It's not like full slot machine. It's a little bit unbalanced, and that is true, and so on. And as soon as everyone is playing Dooley, obviously it is more slot machine. But as long as you have like a decent amount of Vanessa and Pygmalion opponents, this issue is not occurring as much, because it's only because the core is a little bit overtuned on the enchantment itself for slow and haste specifically. It's just like not adapted to the new power level of slow and haste. So that is surely an issue, but it's not like I dislike this generalization. It's a slot machine. No, it's not. It's like still you have like quite a lot of agency until like you have your Pygmalion, and then even then, because like when you get your culture up a Pygmalion, it's still fair. It's still a sort of balance, because Pygmalion has to get there, and like other things. So I would tone it down, but surely it's a little bit of an issue. Overall, I think it's still a great patch, and I also agree it's too much Dooley. But I think the general assumption of agency and balancing is good.
All right. So where would you guys put like the biggest slots machines? Obviously, you can phrase it however you want, but yeah, we use this term right now. Is it
I think day one.
crescendo, and enchant? Is that the biggest thing, or what is other big slot machines?
Freeze enchant on core, I think, is the jackpot.
What is it? Freeze? Yeah, freeze.
Freeze. Yeah, I think that
I'm
shouldn't
gonna
exist.
exclude the super outliers.
But
like
at least that's
Icy
very
and,
very rare.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
agree that
that's
crescendo
why-
is probably
yeah.
also just as big a high roll.
Yeah,
Like, when you
crescendo.
click that gold skill
but
and
but
just get it.
crescendo is I mean, you see it a third of the time. If you go to gold skill and re-roll gold skill, you will see crescendo like 1/3 of the time you go. So it that's more of like a slot machine that's like happens every game. And whereas like I don't think that like I'm getting blown out by Icy enchanted core every game. Like it just you just don't
No,
come
the
across
Icy
that often. Yeah, it's like
the
just
Icy's pretty
it's
rare.
too rare. Yeah.
How about bonk? Like there are some slot machines where you just like imagine the like we being in the future right now, like one week in the future, everyone knows exactly how to play the game and everyone's playing dually. What would you be like? Okay, he has this. Okay, I lose. What is that thing?
I think the strength bronze skill is very. If everyone started playing crit core dually, for example, with Armadillo, I think it will all just boil down to who got the better bronze skill day one, because 10 extra damage to all your weapons that's not okay. Like it's super strong. I think if everyone starts playing dually, skills will become the deciding factor in who wins matchups. Like who has the better scaling skills, for example. So I think that skill could be another slot machine.
It's knife sets. It's by far the best diamond skill. That is also like
Knife tricks,
kind of knife tricks. Yeah, knife tricks like the diamond 5% cooldown reduction, like on a pulse rifle, for example, like 3 times or whatever. That is definitely kind of
knife tricks is not okay.
no, it's not.
Knife tricks flagship is.
Okay, guys.
It's inevitability. Like it's OP.
Okay, guys. Last question. If they would remove the outliers, let's say they just fucking disable it. You know, bonk, crescendo, knife tricks, fiery rebirth, maybe, or like those kind of stuff, or they balance it a little bit. Do you think the game would be better or worse?
Better.
It's still a dually meta, but it's so that is the issue where some people will complain about, but it's definitely better. Sure, you have like a few power outliers you put into line.
All right.
The more randomness you take out of the game, the more skill you can implement into your decisions. And getting
is there a world where these things are good?
Fiery rebirth are really that big of a problem.
I think
honest.
for new players,
they aren't that massive of an issue.
I think for like noobs, for lack of a better word, these kind of exciting, like, oh, I got this enchant, now I have a chance to win. They can be good if they're rare. Like, for example, the freeze enchant. It's so rare that I think maybe it's correct to have it in the game, because the feeling of getting it is like, for a new player, it's like super exciting. And it's so rare that if you're a top player, you will almost never face it. So like the enjoyment it gives the person who gets it is higher than the tilt it gives to the I don't know if I'm making sense, but I think that this kind of exciting
I agree with that.
Can have a place, but they should be rare. That's the problem. Crescendo isn't rare. Like it should be way harder to get crescendo, basically.
I agree with that.
Also,
a game where the better player wins 100% of the time is a game that will quickly run out of players. I've seen it happen in a lot of games.
Beginners need a way to feel that they have a chance against like stronger opponents.
Yeah, I strongly agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
so
also what I don't like about the current what I don't like about the current state of slots machine like Bonk, Crescendo, etc. Is that basically you have one shot at getting them. So Bonk is when you fight the Bonk guy, Crescendo is gold tier skill, and maybe you have another shot, but and if you don't hit it, you cannot like force your luck more than that. It's done. While if like when you had Nufu a lot, you like it had a cost, but if you went to Nufu a lot because you knew that skill was OP, then you increase your chance of getting it. Now you basically with the fixed slots machine either get them like the 11-10 enchant, you get a good one or a bad one, and then it's over for the rest of the game. Same for the OP skills.
Yeah. Do you guys think that Crescendo and the enchants for Dooley right now, like Slow and Haste, are those in a different level than everything else here? Like they are.
Oh,
Yes.
they're in a different. They're way
Yeah.
more. They're way more frequent than the other things that
Yeah.
there.
I
Right?
think
Like,
I think I would
like
put
knife
knife
tricks
tricks
is
there. Knife
Knife
tricks.
tricks also?
Knife tricks
is
is
obviously
knife tricks
goaded,
there.
but like it comes later, right? So it's like you get Crescendo early and then you win, versus like you get knife tricks and you've only got 1 or 2 games to go.
I also think that the boss you face day 6 is also something that might be slept on, because the rewards for fiery I forget his name, but the fiery bird guy. If you get
Corsair,
that
yeah.
boss,
Oh, yeah.
like that's so much better than getting the other day 6 bosses. So like, if it feels bad when you don't get him as your PV encounter, because you know that you might face someone who got him, and his rewards are so much better than the other bosses.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I would like
And
it if you had a
actually,
chance to face like Corsair or Thug on like 10 plus. Like you
Yeah,
have
It's
I
that.
agree.
crazy. It's crazy how much more XP he gives you, and you get
Oh,
like
yeah.
pretty good. Like the odds of getting Fire Rebirth are solid because he doesn't have very many items.
Yeah.
Corsair is
right.
definitely
also,
the better
yeah,
pick
I
than
just feel
Thug.
I just feel like with the new prices of skills, bringing back Nufu a lot like the early days where we could abuse it could be fine, because you don't like having 40 golds to buy knife tricks would make it rewarding for you to have econ or something like that. While now the problem with these skills is also they're so they're so easy to get, and if you get them, you didn't have to prepare or anything. Like you just get the level 14 guy who gives you knife tricks, and I mean you can reroll it, costs 8, but at Nufu now knife tricks cost 40 gold, and
Yeah.
you are not in a meta where you always have 40 gold actually. So I feel like that could be a good way, so that these one slots machine actually
That's
like you
smart.
reward it for preparing for them, and then you have to, it costs you something to get it.
Yeah, right
Yeah.
now there's not a huge incentive to hold on to a lot of money in anticipation of it's just like
Skills.
like your
Yeah.
chances of opening Nufu and him having exactly knife tricks is like insanely low.
Yeah, that's
So
why
I, tr-
it's not a good
yeah.
play to
I
Yeah,
try to
yeah.
keep.
just save your gold.
Yeah.
I don't know. After like day 7, I try to keep enough money that I could buy like any item or any skill that I come across.
You can do that. I'm not even saying that that's like bad, or I'm saying that it's not like you're not insanely likely to find any particular diamond skill for
Oh yeah,
Nufu,
yeah,
even
for
in
sure.
the later days. So it's like if you have 40 gold, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, there's a lot of games where I just carry that gold into
Yeah.
nowhere for sure.
Have any of you tried dinosaurs? Sorry, dinos. I don't know if, like we talked about builds earlier. I haven't personally tried Dianosaur or Momosaur, but maybe they're like for the late game. Does anyone
If you
have
I have
experience?
not tried it. I lost to it
if you had a
a
haste
couple
core,
times.
sounds like
But
it'd be really good. But it sounds like something that you wouldn't be able to like plan around, because it's like you get the enchantment and that's luck, and then you find the late game Momosaur and that's also luck.
Yeah,
I
I
don't like
guess.
Diana that much. I like Mama a lot more.
All right.
yeah,
Are
Yeah, the
we
skills
are
problem
we
really
is
good?
slow. But yeah.
without companion core, it's difficult to haste them
Yeah,
now.
you'd need the haste core. You'd need
Man,
the
poor
enchant.
Ty had to make this fast, and then we like talked for
Yeah,
like
yeah. Like imagine if people came in time, so we could actually finish in time.
imagine, just fathom it. I
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah,
fathom
dude.
that. That sounds impossible.
Yeah. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys like, all of you guys probably want to talk to each other. Like you can talk. Obviously, I'll just leave if you want to talk to each other about the meta, or whatever. But I think this is good. I hope you guys enjoyed.
Yeah, let's
Thank you
actually
for
do
joining.
that. I would like have to
Yeah, it was
talk a
great.
little bit.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
So
I'm
yeah,
fine
this
too.
episode is done. And we can just like yap
Thanks for having me
afterwards.
on, Ty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No worries. Okay. Good. We just needed to finish that. Okay, you guys can yap.
Dude, I have a drill on my board right now. I'm drilling
Are you
them.
playing a game? Maybe I should start
Of course
one
I'm
too.
playing a game.
I was watching Taj's stream.
So I want to like actually give like two answers to questions that I never got the answer. So Raresh was asking me about the ignition core and how I play it as a more of an ignition core. It is rarely a full ignition core as you had it 2 patches ago. It is more of a hybrid. So you don't have your early alpha ray, and then your first upgrade is the core, and then you have rather like maybe one skill, and you have a golden core,
You
which
upgrade
means
the
you
core.
have
Do you put
yeah,
stuff
like
right of core? What do you put right
yeah,
of core?
yeah, like so like your first level like a 3 or 4 upgrade, and you don't have an alpha ray. It's like not the standard play. You just like you play like a ignition core with like either like one item to the right or like even just like upgrading the ignition core for the extra 3 burn is quite a nice scaling. So you can just like upgrade the
I don't think
Yeah,
I
I
would
mean,
up Igni
the
core if I wasn't
burn
going to
core
put stuff right of it.
was a decent upgrade compared to like
it's a
the
good
other
upgrade
ones.
target.
It's not like it's
And-
not the best, but it's not like worst case scenario. It's not that bad.
I think it's above like way above average. And then
Presley burn
you
is a
open
lot, I agree.
You are playing
And then-
things on the right of it. Well, now.
All right, guys. I will let them yap and then I'll play because the podcast got a little bit long again, but I think it was kind of interesting anyway. That's why we just kept on going. But yeah, the most important stuff got done in the beginning, and then it trickled in a little bit late, so we had to like go back all the time. But whatever. I hope you guys enjoyed.